Mention this UFO sighting. I think you'll see this all over the TV news tonight. A woman in Sydney spotted something in the sky and took photographs. Fiona Hartigan, good morning.
Good morning, how are you today?
I'm okay. What was it?
An unidentified flying object.
What did it look like?
It looks exactly like it does in the photos. There was one big, large black object, and then there was two smaller objects coming out of a quite large orange object.
And what time did you see it?
It was actually a sunset on Sunday. I like to take photos of the sunset. My partner and I both enjoyed the sunsets. And he said, can you go down and take a photo of on Governor Macquarie Drive of the sunset? So I did that. And just as I'm focusing, just putting the camera into focus of the sunset, this large object's just flown in front of me in my vision and my screen. And I've thought, wow, what's that? So then as I'm clicking, and I'm using an iPhone, so every shot's instantaneous. I can click 5 times in a row and I've got a shot every click I've taken.
Yeah.
And at the same time as it's coming closer, I'm onto my 4th shot, and it's coming closer to the light, and then all of a sudden in the 4th photograph, there's these 2 other objects coming out of the big bright orange light. They then took off across to the right as fast as they came, and then the black object took off back down Governor Macquarie Drive. At the same time it disappeared, the big bright orange light instantaneously both just disappeared at the same time.
How long did all that...
I'm glad the iPhone...
Go on.
I'm glad the iPhone took these pictures, because if I was just to say this story without the evidence, the proof of the iPhone photos,
yeah,
I wouldn't believe it either. But there's special investigators that have actually looked into it. For example, the Bureau of Meteorology, the Sydney Observatory have looked into it. Last night I had the UFO Investigation Services for Australia at my home till 2 o'clock this morning. Woken up this morning and gone on several television shows.
How long did the incident take, from start to finish?
Well, like I said, they were instantaneous clicks on my camera, and the time span is in 8 seconds. Every photo has a documented time frame. From the first photo through to the 5th photo, it was a matter of 8
Now, there have been some strange goings-on around Sydney, with several sightings of objects in the sky. Those who've witnessed these UFOs are sure we're being visited by aliens. And so far, there's no better explanation.
We've all heard the stories before, but rarely from so many independent witnesses.
It's just right there between the 2 trees that go towards the Wollongong.
Whatever it was, Laszlo Novak managed to film it. For them, 3 large pulsating objects cruising silently in formation over Campbelltown. One came so close, Laszlo says he could see some structure.
That was like a donut shape, and underneath I saw them like orange lights. It was spinning around.
The lights returned 3 times over 7 hours. One witness sure she was being observed.
It just sort of slowly came towards me, and then that's when I ran back onto the front porch because I was really terrified.
This time all the usual explanations have been discounted. Civil and military radar reported no unusual blips. Even the chance of atmospheric conditions playing tricks ruled out by cloudy skies.
That was real, definitely, because I was the witness and I saw it.
And from those simply left to believe their own eyes, no answers, speculation yes, and questions.
I just want answers. I just want to know what they are and what they want.
John Collis, 7 Nightly News.
I leave it.
I was travelling from Sydney in a northerly direction toward Gosford along this particular road here, the Pacific Highway, and it was quiet. There wasn't a lot of traffic. It was early Christmas morning, and I was just gazing out of the front window of the car, and I saw approximately half a kilometre away, a bright silver metallic object crossing from south to north.
I stood here not believing my eyes, because where I sit I can see the open water, and I just couldn't believe that this thing could appear on the water. It was some kind of craft, but it was completely surrounded in lights underneath and all around, and it just looked like a carousel. It wasn't anything flat.
Around holiday time, the local police know they'll be busy. But on this New Year's Eve, the calls weren't what they expected.
All people that I spoke to had exactly the same thing to say. There was no variance whatsoever in the object that was sighted. It was a huge chrome, very shiny object in the shape of a ball. At the bottom of the ball was a number of huge white lights. This object looked like it was sucking up water. Some calls were quite frightful in the voice. You can actually hear the fear, and in the background especially, the fear of people and of course animals and things at the time that were experiencing this phenomenon.
We're looking out above this headland here, and we're watching a bright light move in a strange fashion that you'll never see, or we never saw anyway. It was moving quickly and moved, for instance, in a zigzag fashion. We were watching it for 10 to 15 minutes, move in this direction north, and we just saw this bright light, 15, 20 metres above our car. Just a bright light, emanating light towards our car. It was just awesome.
All of a sudden I saw these lights come out of the water like a cylinder and flash, and the top of the water all lit up, and as that light was up I could hear the rushing of water, movement of water, and then the water being raised up, and then shortly after down comes the water on top of the lake.
I noticed this rather bright light that seemed to be on the right hand side of the car, and it seemed to be following us for quite a while. And then all of a sudden it turned and went at a right angle right across the expressway in front of the car. It was large, round, and it seemed to have a stream of sparks flying out the back of it. I don't know what it was, but it was most peculiar.
After the initial New Year's Eve reports to police, the local Sun Weekly newspaper got hold of the story.
There were hundreds more people at home that had obviously thought they'd seen something quite out of the ordinary, but were too scared maybe to come forward and actually say that they'd seen something. Our office, the day the report hit the streets, was amazing. We had caller after caller saying they'd seen the same thing.
A lot of the witnesses were retired academics, some were policemen, nurses, school teachers, Sunday school teachers, lawyers, business people, some of the leading business people in the area. They were all people that had everything to lose and nothing to gain by even coming forward and making a report. All the people who actually saw it hovering over the water described these 4 or 5 shafts of bright white light coming down to the water and literally penetrating the water rather than reflecting off it. We also had descriptions of the water seething underneath it. Some people said it frothed, some people said it foamed, some people said it was steaming up.
Let's go. Overall, I'd imagine there'd be probably 3 dozen telephone calls on the night.
Oh, please, Sergeant Wenning. In particular, Sergeant Wenning remembers one very distressed caller.
He told me he had been woken up from a deep sleep with thunderous noise and bright lights, dogs barking. His children had come into his bedroom screaming. He was saying that this thing was only just down the bottom of his street. He could see it was out in the water, it was sucking up water. The sound was like a million humming bees. He didn't know what was going on.
We investigated officially with the local aircraft, aerodromes, with the Air Force, with air traffic control, and again could come up with no explanation.
While everyone can describe what they saw, no one seems to have the answer to exactly what it was or where it came from.
It was moving in waves in the sky, which could only be described as a UFO.
When you see something like this, there's a sure knowledge that you're looking at something that is beyond your experience.
I'm not young, and people might think, oh,